Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Welcome back to Toy Business Unboxed. Today's guests are Astrid and Clint, a dynamic couple who have turned a homeschooling project with their kids into a thriving indie game business. In 2020, while living in Vietnam, they created their first card game, Stack the Scoop, which has made its way onto Amazon and different retail stores. In this episode, they will walk us through their journey from the first idea to like navigating the productions and also launching a new indie publisher and start building momentum for their business. Thank you so much for being on our podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's go back to the beginning. Like, can we kind of talk about the origin story of the project and the story behind the product that you currently have?
So we were traveling full time and homeschooling our kids when the pandemic came. And so we were in Vietnam at the time, staying there for a month and turned into 3 months. And so while we were there, we had brought a couple card games with us, and we as a family like board games. So we were playing board games, and our kids at the time were 6 and 9. I was playing with them and just playing one of the games that we had. And I just thought, hey, it'd be fun to kind of design another game. I used to be a graphic designer, so I've kind of reskinned other games before, just kind of to make them fun, just kind of as a design project, just a personal design project. So that's what we were playing. We were playing one of the games that we like called Millborn that I had just redesigned for my own sake. So we were playing that, and I thought, oh, it'd be fun to kind of redesign another game. And so then I just asked my daughter, I was like, let's come up with some game ideas. And so she came up with like an ice cream theme, and then we just kind of started spitballing it from there and kind of fleshed out the initial gameplay just in the like 20 minutes that we were playing there. And that's really actually how the idea came about. And then Astrid, I think you were doing some video stuff or something, and you came into the room afterwards. And
You told me about the game, and then I said, oh, let's make it into like a card game. Let's cut up some paper. So we like sat there and we made different cards. We just like cut up 8 by 11 sheets of paper and like hand drew cards, and then we started playing the game as Clint and our daughter had like envisioned it would be.
Yeah, that was literally like a little bit the rest of the day, and then I think the next day we really started fleshing out just the cutting out the pieces of paper and drawing it out. So yeah.
I see. What moment do you realize that you actually want to sell it as like an actual product?
Yeah, I mean, it was actually pretty kind of right away. So I guess one of the things that we've always wanted to do is to have a product to sell like online as sort of like passive income. That is just something to be able to have like an income stream beyond.
Yeah. But you saw it as passive before you start. And once you start, it's not really passive.
That's the caveat. It's not passive.
Passive. We'll just put that in
But
quotes.
some kind of income stream where you're not like charging your services, you're trading your services or your time for things. Both Clint and I, we have full-time jobs, but we used to have a side hustle of like freelance work, and we're kind of tired of doing like freelance stuff. So we wanted to move more into like product type of income. So I was thinking, oh, well, this would be kind of fun. And my thinking has always been, let's just try it. If it fails, it fails. That's okay. At least you tried, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
when we played the game and when I was thinking, this is a fun game from start to finish, and like I think other families will like it.
Mhm.
Let's make it into a product. Let's make it into something we can sell. How hard can it be?
You don't know what you don't know, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
So I know you also have a copy of the game with you. Will you also share the game and also explain the gameplay and the rule, etc.? That would be very insightful.
Yeah. So this is our game. It's called Stack the Scoops. And like Clint said, it's an ice cream themed game. And the point of the game is you want to make like a set of base, scoop, and topping cards.
Hmm.
And you earn points that way. And then sometimes there are bonus cards that you can get like this. This is like a double scoop. So then you can add that to your set, and that'll be like, the sum of the points you get from here times 2, since this is double. We also have a triple scoop card. So it's fairly easy. Everybody has like a set of 7 cards in their hand, and then you're playing off of stacks in the middle of the table, and you're trying to complete sets of the stacks in the middle of the table, and then once you complete a set, then those cards are for you to collect.
Is there also action card in the game that you can buy or steal card from other players?
So we'll step it back for just a second. So when we started actually fleshing out beyond just the like initial concept that my daughter and I were talking about, we actually started fleshing out the game rules. One of the things that we noticed is that the board game market is very interesting. We kind of learned why this is the case now that we've been in the board game industry. But most of the interesting games are geared towards 14 and up. And I won't say non-interesting games, but games that tend to be geared toward young kids are sometimes can be pretty simple, is a way to put it. And so we were frustrated by that because we love board games in general, but because the market tends to be for older kids and above, there was kind of a gap. So one of the things that we wanted a game that was easy. Like I said, our kids were 6 and 9 at the time. So we wanted a game that could span multiple ages all the way into adults that we didn't mind playing, but were also simple enough for the kids. Since we were homeschooling the kids at the time, we liked having some sort of educational element. That's why we kind of have it like math point based. And then one of the considerations right from the beginning was that I personally just wanted it all positive play, meaning it was more just accumulation and kind of trick taking. So one of the philosophies was also like introduce like classic card game techniques like trick taking or set taking, that kind of thing into it as well. So the initial gameplay didn't have any action cards or anything like that. It was mostly just trick taking. And then we did do a expansion pack that then added some of the action cards like the dropped scoops, some action cards you can play on other players, wild cards, that kind of stuff.
So cards that could take points away from other players or cancel a play, or wild cards too. That could be either. Because the other aspect of it is we have 2 different colors of cards. So there's like pink cards and green cards. And so to create a set, you have to match the color. So this is more for younger players that don't know how to like do the adding. They can at least just focus on like matching the colors and stuff like that too.
We always encourage even when we demo the game, we encourage families with younger kids to play it different ways. So we've had families play it like memory style and all sorts of different ways. So, and that was just one of the intents. We wanted it kind of versatile in that way because it was going to be played with younger kids.
Yeah.
I see. What is the age group that you are trying to design the game for?
5 and older.
Yeah, 5 and older. About 5 to 10 is kind of the sweet spot.
I see. And the game end when you complete a certain amount of set, or when does the game end?
So the game ends when you either run out of cards in your hand or you run out of cards in the deck. Because we have 120 cards. If you have say you have a set of 7 cards and you can't play any of them, then you have to draw a card, and then you either play it, or if you can't, then the play moves to the next person. So as soon as somebody runs out of all the cards in their hand, or you run out of all the cards in the draw pile, then the game ends. Then you spend like 5 minutes adding and multiplying.
Yeah, and we've changed, and we're planning on at some point launching like a second version of this where we revise the rules and stuff. I mean, that's the thing with games too. You could iterate on it forever and never launch a product.
Mhm.
We went with the initial game and that we had play tested. We liked it. But since then, we launched it in 2020, so it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
So we have some new ideas on how the rules can be tweaked a little bit and
Yeah.
things like that. So,
Yeah. And we got a lot of good feedback from people. Families really enjoy it because it's
Mhm.
all ages essentially. Parents don't get bored playing the game with their kids, which is what we wanted. Because, when you're playing, like what Clint said earlier, when you're playing some of these like young kid games, it's like, okay, let me just
No offense to anyone who
pull
creates
the card and all that
kid
stuff.
play
But at
games.
least this game, we feel like the parents can also be a little bit like both the kids and the parents can be like strategic and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, grandparents love it, especially we've heard. It was fun. It was an interesting challenge of playtesting this because we created the game during the pandemic. So it's not like we
Yeah.
could go to playtesting events in
Yeah.
person or anything like that. So we just created print and play cards and sent them out that way. So we just sent them out a bunch, created like a Google form for feedback. That's kind of how we did our playtesting during the pandemic.
I see. And do you also was able to find a manufacturer in Vietnam, or how do you handle that during the pandemic?
Well, that's one of the places we made a mistake. We had to change later. So when I originally was doing kind of personal design projects where I was reskinning other games just for our own personal products, I was
Mhm.
using a website that was kind of an all-in-service one. They printed out of China, but they had a UI that basically is like intended for very short runs, 1 copy to 100 copies at the most, right? So very short runs. The beautiful part of that is they were full service. So they handled a lot of the like pre-production graphic design work. They handled all the shipping. They handled all that stuff. The downside that we learned later after we'd already done some bulk ordering from them is that we were massively overpaying for manufacturing, massively overpaying for manufacturing. And we didn't realize that until we'd already been selling in Amazon for a while. We were thinking of going into retail. We were working with a distributor or warehousing person, and he was asking kind of what our numbers were. And we told him, and he's like, yeah, you guys are way overpaying. And so he then put us in contact with a couple different manufacturers that then I started reaching out and contacting. So like we have upcoming games in the next year or two that we want to launch. And so my process is way different now. Now I know lots of manufacturers. I know how to kind of reach out and vet those or, at least get estimates and quotes. And I know more what I'm looking for. But at the
Yeah.
time we had no experience manufacturing anything, not product people. We were not business people. We were
Right.
kind of learning all this on the fly. So it was our business school. We like to joke. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I met like another indie game publisher and he was saying that it's like you're failing forward.
Yeah.
We're like making mistakes as we go along. It's still helping us in our business.
For sure, I can relate to that. That's how I started in 2016 myself as well. Yeah, the only little advantage I have is I do speak Chinese, so a little bit easier to communicate with the factory, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't need to go through a middle person. I can just
Yeah.
go direct. But it's like when manufacturing, getting the right manufacturer is definitely a challenging part initially. What are some of the other unexpected challenges that you face when you're building the product and the business?
I think from a design standpoint, there's a lot. So like I said, I used to be a graphic design. This one I did all the illustration design myself.
Mm.
And there was a lot of considerations. We had printed, I knew there was gonna be a lot of design work. So that I was already expecting. But then, you make one change to the card. So for example, we printed a prototype and we had it sent to us. So we were already back in the States by the time we got the actual prototype. And we started playing it and quickly realized this is like if you're holding the cards in your hand, you can't see the icons and you can't see the numbers. And there's all these like user experience flaws in the game
Mm.
itself
I see.
that I
Yeah.
then had to go and redesign. Well, it's 120 cards, and I had just basically a flat Illustrator file if you're familiar with Adobe products. And so I just had to go and change every single card on that thing. Now, my design process since has changed, but like when you're designing for those many components and things, that was one of the challenges that I faced in the early part, just the design phase even before we got to the manufacturing.
Yeah. And I think like For me, the main thing was getting it sold on either on Amazon or I'm getting it in retail stores. That we sort of when we started when we organized the company and like the things that we were working on, Clint ended up taking on mostly like the design and manufacturing stuff. So then I was like, okay, well, I'll do like the sales, marketing, distribution aspect of it. And so even that, like I have some experience with just, social media, online marketing type of stuff because I have a travel blog. And so I've been doing that for a while. So then I was like, oh, well, I can take the learnings from that and apply it to here. But then that only covers like, 10% of
Yeah.
the tech stuff, and just even like learning all the ins and outs of Amazon, which I'm still learning, and trying to get our product in stores, retail stores and stuff, or even have like distributors look at our game. That stuff has been like challenging for us.
Yeah, and
Sweet.
Learning process.
it's like even go back to like the manufacturing stuff, like we're still learning stuff. Like
Mhm.
when we switched to manufacturer, like I said, they were kind of they were hands on, so they handled everything. And then we were just storing the games in a storage unit where we were living near where we were living. But when we switched to a different manufacturer and we had a warehouse, this was 2 years in, and all of a sudden we had a whole nother set of learning curve to go through because now we had to figure out how we had to work with shipping
Import
company,
stuff?
like an
Yeah.
import company.
Freight forwarders.
Yeah. So we had to do imports. We had to work with the warehousing. We had to coordinate. We had to figure out how to do payments because before we were just paying by the credit card on this website because they were full service. But now we had to figure out like wiring money. So it was like
Yeah.
this whole other level of, and then we actually were exposed to different shipping methods because now we have the option of shipping by cargo ship or flight
Yeah.
or so there was like all of a sudden all these options that we were like not even aware of before that we had to learn.
And then all of those, kind of goes into like the pricing as well, right? And so you're balancing like what the actual costs of all of these versus like what consumers are willing to pay for a game of this size. And and I think another thing is this is like the latest size of our box, but the first box that we had was like half the size.
Yeah.
Thicker, but half the size because we were like, well, let's try and cut be as economical as possible, and people might like this because it's a small box and they can just throw it in their purse or bag and carry it wherever they went. So we had this idea that a small box would appeal to consumers, and on Amazon it sells okay because they're buying off of like the pictures and not by the box. But when we started selling our games in stores, that small box like got lost on the shelf. Like nobody would like look at it because it's just such a small
not
thing.
only that, but like the way I had designed the box, if it wasn't put on the shelf in exactly one way, then you couldn't tell what the game was. You couldn't look like anything. And as soon as I saw it the first time on the shelf and it wasn't like in a proper configuration with basically the front showing, I was like, oh my God, I have to redesign this.
Yeah.
Like you cannot see. You cannot see.
So now we have like, people know that this is an ice cream game because it's got ice cream on there. And then we have the label and the logo on every
way it can
side of the box.
Yeah.
And then the back has like way more information about like the gameplay and things, that stuff we learned 2 years into the game. So I intentionally didn't bring the old box because I'm just like, well, now it's a collector's item. But we learned that from just talking to other people. Like we went to a conference and there was a lady that was talking about packaging, and that was something that we talked to her and she gave us some feedback about how we can make our box a little bit better. We also talked to some of the stores that we had our game in and they gave us some feedback too. But yeah, that was something that cost, it added more to the cost of our production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. I see. I think that's why it's so important to network with other people in the industry and just learn from other people's lesson. And I also learned tons of lesson over the years, and I've been doing this for 9 years and still learning, like
Yeah.
every single days about different changes and different things that we can really optimize for our business. But I want to take a step back, talking about the marketing. Remind me, did you also did a Kickstarter campaign for the product as well?
No, we self-funded this. So we had looked into doing Kickstarter initially
Mhm.
because we knew that's where most of the games were being sold, or at least initially launched off of. But when we started looking at Kickstarter, the whole process was already new to us. Designing a board game, designing a product, doing all that, figuring out the manufacturing, all that stuff was a brand new process to us. Kickstarter is also a whole nother level of learning. It's just,
Yes.
I mean, I think initially when we started researching is like, okay, we'll read a couple things and we'll kind of figure it out. And
Yeah.
it's like social media. And it's like, no, it's a whole strategy. There's a whole, you have to build up an audience. And we were like, let's save that for a future game. Let's just focus on getting this initial product out there, go through the learning curve that we know we're going to go through with launching a product.
Mhm.
And then we can always go back to Kickstarter. And that we're still planning on that.
Yeah.
I think future games, we are going to go through Kickstarter, or at least try Kickstarter and see.
I mean, the benefit of Kickstarter is that it allows you to like launch something without having a lot of capital. I mean, we were fortunate to be able to self-fund it. But yeah, I think you're right though. It's like another job. Like you have to devote at least, a full month of your time to the Kickstarter campaign before, once you launch it and even before that, right? Like generating your audience and building that up. And we just felt like it was one extra thing to add to our list. We're like, oh,
Yeah,
let's not do that.
Yeah.
I see. I see it.
And it's fortunately, like a card game like what we created is not as expensive to manufacture as a full-on board game with like multiple pieces and components and things like that.
Yeah.
So
It's a good place to start. For
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So looking back, what are some of the things you will be doing differently if you restart this process from scratch again?
I think one of the things we'll do is we'll try to build an audience earlier. We'll try to do stuff more in person, like playtesting events, that kind of stuff, to build a network for sure. I think we will play test the game way more than we play tested this to start with. What about you?
Bigger box.
Bigger box? Yeah.
Good one. Okay.
Yep.
No, I don't want to throw you under the bus.
No, it's totally fine.
I did mention in the beginning, I was like, does this seem a little small?
Yep.
But
Stubborn designer.
yeah, so like I think that this would probably be the smallest size box that we would make, for any kind of game in the future.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing would be to shop around for a manufacturer instead of just going with what is.
Yeah. We kind of pulled it on hold this year for a number of reasons, launching a new game. But next year, we're thinking maybe of trying to launch another game. And so, yeah, we've already contacted a few manufacturers to kind of get some pricing estimates. The other thing we learned about manufacturers is that sometimes they don't have access to all different materials. So different manufacturers can sometimes have different materials or different processes that you might be interested in. So that's been helpful just to shop around. Plus, like your reps, the reps you work with can be wildly different. Some of them are very, very nice to work with and hands-on and walk you through the process. And some of them are very hands-off. And so it just kind of depends on how you like to work. And so that's definitely one thing. I think we would also probably have more of a structured strategy of the actual launch day and kind of a lead up to the launch day. Because we soft launched it, which is not necessarily a bad thing because that's what we want to do. But we not really built up any sort of network or hype or anything other than the beta testers or the testers. So we just kind of soft launched it and grew it from there. And I think for this, it worked fine. But I think we would build up more of an audience first. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And I think you also cover you're also working on a few more product in the pipeline for next year as well. So as well, kind of wrapping up today's interview, if you have to share just one piece of advice with someone else that's also getting started in the toys and game industry, what would that be?
You can go first.
Just do it. I think that from the, conferences that we go to and just like these game industry events that we go to, we started talking to people like we talked to a lot of people that are like, "Oh, well, I have this game in mind and I'm just making it, trying to make it perfect and it's not quite ready yet." To me, it's like your game is never going to be 100% perfect. And it does no service to the world if it's just sitting in your head or, in box and not being played by other people. And so don't be afraid to just like get it out there, even if it's not the best perfect iteration that you want it to be. You always create like second, you can always refine it in future editions, but the point is to have people playing your game.
Yeah.
So if nobody's playing your game, then it's not worthwhile.
Well, and the worst too is if something's sitting in your head, there's a very likely chance that someone else is also thinking of something similar. It's horrible if you don't launch something and then all of a sudden you see someone else launch something that's very similar, and then you're like, it's so deflating.
Yeah.
To see.
Yeah.
So just get something out.
Just get it out there.
I think for me, it's have a reason for what you're doing, and then share that. For example, from a design standpoint, like I said, one of the things with this game is we really wanted it to be for kids. Like we wanted kids to have fun with it. And even when we do it in conferences, we demo it at like events and stuff. It's still cool to see like when kids walk up to the table and want to play it and then they're having fun playing it. Like,
Yeah.
The older gamers and stuff, they'll walk right by the table and not give it a second glance. That's fine. It's not for them. But like having kids play it is great. And that's what we wanted. And it's like we have other games where we have like there's cultural reasons why we want to put that game out there, or there's others, but there's always like a reason that we want to build that product. I mean, like in your story, Jason, I think it's powerful too. Like there's a solid reason for the stuff that you guys do. And I think that becomes a driving force. So just know what your reason is. I think it's my advice. Yeah.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that. So where can our audience find you online?
So you can find Stack the Scoops on Amazon. Search up Stack the Scoops. And then also we have a website, vibugo.com. So our company is called Vibugo, Vibugo. And then you can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at vibugo.games. And then on Facebook at it's just Vibugo Games.
I see. I will make sure we put that in the show note as well. And thank you so much for both of you to spend the time with us and share your experience, your knowledge with our audience as well.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And for our audience, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We hope you have enjoyed today's conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support and would love it if you can leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more resource tips and the latest update within the toys and game industry, visit our website at toy-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag #ToyBusinessUnboxed. We would love to hear your feedback and suggestions for any future episode. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, keep bringing joy to the toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.